Don't you just love a sunny start to the day? Everybody loves a sunny start to the day. There's not much wind at this particular moment in time, and we're just about to depart Swansea. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. That's the time that they choose to start, not me. So they're starting at 7, I'm getting ready to go as quick as I can. We've really enjoyed our stay here. We've found there's far more to see and do than we ever thought. And the people are really nice as well. Your book seems to do quite well here as well, in the pubs and the cafes and what have you. Nothing seems to be extortionate, it's all down to earth. We'll definitely revisit this at some point. The lock system in and out the marina is actually quite easy and straightforward. There's a sea lock that brings you into an internal point, and then there's a lock to bring you in the marina. As luck would have it, there's enough water now for us to be able to go straight out of the first lock, which is the one in the marina. So they've put that on free flow. Free flow is where both sides of a lock are open and you can just literally slide straight the way through the lock without having to stop and wait for it to fill up or empty to bring the water levels together. So as you can see, the lock in front of us there, we can just go straight through. This is the marina lock. The marina lock operates on channel 80 and the call sign Swansea Marina. Well, that's a load of faffing round cut out, I'm sure. Grabbing hold and tying up and waiting for it to fill up and that, although it's quite exciting. And here we go onto the main lock now. As you can see, the green traffic lights up there mean we've got the go-ahead to go in. We're set up to tie up on the port side now, so that's what we'll do as soon as we get in there. Or at least that's the plan. This lock's responsible for keeping the water in Swansea and not letting it go out to sea, not letting all the boats dry out. Again, these start at 7 o'clock in the morning and I think they finish about 10 o'clock at night, but hours might change when it's off season. Obviously, we're summertime at the moment. The lock here operates on channel 18 and responds as a call sign to Towie Lock. Named so because it's on the River Towie. This picket fence you can see on the port side here, that's got cleats on the top of it and ropes that hang down the sides of it. And all you got to do is grab hold of this and tie yourself to it so the boat's not free floating when the water starts coming in the lock. There's Lisa's lassoing like a cowboy. Sorry, make that a cowgirl. And she got it quite quickly and easy. Pulls the boat in, although that we're going to have to move forward because the lock keeper's asked us to go as far forward as we can do. But I don't think there's any other boats out there going to come in after us. There's 3 points we can tie the boat off at: the bow, the stern and the midships. Midships is easy just to get a grip of something and you can sort the rest out. We're just getting it moved forward at the moment, so that's all our faffing round is moving it forward. And then obviously the lock's rising while we're doing this, and it's lowering, I'm not sure which. Are we going up or down? I think we're going down to meet the sea level outside, which isn't very high. Always seems to be a lot more water inside than there is outside, eh? But I dare say there's times where it's the other way round. Well, you can see them big gates starting to open in front of us now. And that's the way out to the sea. Swansea Bay is normally very calm. It's normally a very calm bay. It takes a lot to ruffle Swansea Bay. That's all the way up to about the Mumbles, and then after that it seems to be the Bristol Channel you've got on the Bristol Channel conditions. Coming out the lock, it's a slow process for me, so it's plenty of time for Lisa to sort the lines out, and then of course we've got to start getting all the fenders in. If you note that ribs going around that buoy in the middle, it's like a mooring buoy in the middle there. He's just about to go round it now. Well, we went round that side of it and we got stuck in the mud. So don't go round that side of it. That is definitely the shallow side. Stay on this side of the buoy coming in and going out, and you can avoid the mud. I would say he obviously knows the channel and the depths very well for him to fly over what I consider to be the hump of mud anyway. See, you've got all this lovely area here to get your fenders and your lines in, and you're more than well protected. And even when you get out, I think Swansea Bay is quite well protected from swells and stuff like that, so it's still fairly flat. There's a long channel to get out of Swansea Bay to heading towards the Mumbles. Looking back on the marina there, it's in a nice setting. And there's the Mumbles there, which we never actually got to. We walked halfway there and my peg leg was hurting, so we had to turn back and walk the other half back. After the Mumbles, we seem to get a little bit of air, usable air that we can use, but we're still motor sailing because we haven't got enough power to drag us down here and push us against this tide, because as you can see, the tide is against us at the moment. That is a plan, by the way, having the tide against us, because we had to choose where we wanted it with us. So we're going to motor sail along this bottom stretch here past Oxwich and Einon Bay. We're now coming up to the stretch where I was not looking forward to, and that's because it's wind over tide nearly all the way up here, which means it's going to be a little bit bumpy. Weather forecast for the day is a northwesterly or a northwesterly on a force 3 to 5. Obviously it wasn't that in Swansea Bay, but it's definitely going to be up here in Carmarthen Bay. Well, we started off here at Swansea, obviously, and we had to make our way across down to the Mumbles and along the bottom of the Gower Peninsula here. And where we're heading towards now is we've turned the corner at the bottom of the Gower Peninsula towards Worm's Head. Well, the wind is almost right on the nose there, so it's more or less west-northwest, but I feel that's shaped by the land more so than anything else at the moment. We want to hopefully get to an anchorage over here, which gives us a track of 280 degrees, and that's not taking into account leeway or tide drift, which means we'll need the wind to be at least 330 degrees to have 50 degrees of wind on the bow. At the moment we've got 290 degrees, which will put us miles away from wherever we want to be, or we'll just have to motor straight across into the chop, which I wouldn't look forward to. I know it don't look very uncomfortable, and really it isn't that uncomfortable, it's very tenable, but if you think about doing this for 4 hours, then you start thinking to yourself, well, you know, you're just like a little bit of a relaxation. The water actually looks quite sedate. It's just the swell and the wind when it catches it, and this is the nice little bit here. It seems to have calmed down a bit, hiding behind those couple of islands that stick out. And this is Worm's Head, so I'm just about to change my course to port and stick my sails up and see how I get on. And it seems to be it's going to be quite a hard crossing to me at this moment in time if it stays like this all the way, because I still seem to be right into the waves, although I can just about to get the sails to pull. Just then we get a radio call from Ocean Lady. The lady on board says, "What a wonderful day it is for sailing, going the other way." Well, I think air conditions on board their vessel and the conditions on board my vessel, me going into the chop and they're going with it, and they're also having a nice broad reach, makes a massive difference to the passage. Not to say that she was on a small ship. Well, thanks for the comms anyway, they cheered me up. As the wind strength seems to be chopping and changing quite a lot, I had quite a conservative plan on at the beginning. I just wanted to feel it pull and have a look at what directions I could actually get to see whether it was worth sitting on the sail all day or not. I've timed it so the tide is actually with me now rather than against me, so the hardest part of the journey for me, this being it, well, actually it isn't at the moment. The motor up to Worm's Head was the hardest part. The rest of the trip's been quite pleasant. Swallow's Bluff Bow isn't best designed for going into seas with a little bit of a lump in them, so she's going to crash away all the way along. All I want to do is keep a decent pace up over the ground and keep a decent track up. I want to stay north of going west, and if I can stay north of going west like I am just there, then I feel like I'm happy that I'm making a decent course. I don't care where I end up at the other end, I'll end up somewhere. So what am I doing beating across Carmarthen Bay? Well, it wasn't a plan to be beaten across Carmarthen Bay. We've been watching the weather for a couple of days, and it was actually supposed to be a northerly today. But as the weather forecast got closer and closer, it started changing from a northerly to a north-northwesterly. And today's forecast turned out to be a north-northwest to a northwesterly, which pushes swallows poor little bows to the limits going into this wind. But on the bright side, there's a little bit of blue sky up there somewhere trying to get through, so a bit of sunshine would be nice. Every now and then the wind reduces in power a little bit, and then I look at my sail plan and think, should I be changing my sail plan? And no sooner do I think that, and then the wind's back up again and we're off again. And the other thing, I'm trying to hold a bit of a steady course, and I don't know whether to hold a steady course or sail to the telltales, because the wind keeps shifting a few degrees to port, a few degrees to starboard, and every time I look up, the telltales are telling me that I'm off the wind a little bit and I should either drop off the wind or pull into the wind a little bit more. But I'm clawing away at this course to try and keep it best I can all the way across, and a reefed sail to me doesn't always give you the best performance to windward. But as you can see, it's very chilled aboard, and every now and then the wind drops down. So I think to myself, should I be letting the sails out a little bit more and play with the gunnels in the water a little bit more? And then I look at what I'm doing and I think, well, I'm actually making good headway. And in case you haven't noticed yet, it's me doing all the helming. I've left the auto helm off because it can't cope with quick changes in wind strength and quick changes in wind direction and waves that hit the bow and stop the boat, and it needs to be paid off the wind a little bit to get back and going again. But if you stay on the helm yourself, you've got a very good chance of keeping it in the groove while everything's chopping and changing around you. The other thing you get when you've been beaten for quite a length of time is you get the wave set that sets in where it goes bang, bang, bang and almost stops the bow, and then you've got to either drop it off a little bit and pick up the boat speed again and then refine your groove and get going again. Well, that happens more often than not when you don't pay attention. She does seem to be slowing down a bit now, so I think this 3 to 5's getting closer to the 3 to 4 or maybe even a 3 at this moment in time. So I think I'll slip out the reef and line for the Genoa, and then I need to move the car back a little bit on the track, and then I need to wind up that sheet and reset that sail before I stall in the water. Making a little bit of a meal out of winding this sail in. I get a bit like that when I've been out for a bit slow. But I'm lucky, I don't think she's stalled. So all she's got to do now is fill back up and pull herself back going again. Because I think we're down to about a knot and a half at the moment. Yep, I think I can feel a little bit of extra effort from it now. And it doesn't take long to start pulling again. And we're off. Now we've just got to find a nice groove and get back in it. A bow wave in slow motion, just to show you what Swallow's Bluff bow does to that sea as it comes down on it. It cracks it out the way. Well, I think she's going all right now. I'm sailing as close to the wind as I can do. I mean, I'm not pinching because I actually want to keep a bit of speed up into this sea. Because if I lose too much in the way of speed, I think I'll just end up gaining in leeway, and that just won't be worth it over a long distance. So keep the speed up, keep the leeway to the minimum, and just see where I end up on the other side. I'm trying to keep things trimmed, and I'm trying to stay close to the wind. And I think Swallow's doing me a fair justice at the moment too. She's only heeled a couple more degrees for putting the rest of the sail out, so I'm quite happy to sit on this. It's still comfortable. The boat motion's still fairly comfortable, and we've still got a long way to go. It's about a 20-mile stretch from Worm's Head across to the anchorage on the other side. And I always average things out at about 5 knots, so obviously that's about 4 hours. And 4 hours of beating, well, that's a fair amount of beating, especially, I know it looks fairly calm, the water, but it is lumpy. It always looks less lumpy on the TV. I got no idea why it's like that. And it is more or less a slight out there. It's a slight with a little bit of a lump. After a few hours, the air started to lighten up every now and then, or it got a little bit close to the nose. And I did sort of, with the extra flat water that we're having now, I did sort of think, well, I can pinch just a little bit better on that, because obviously the bow doesn't get banged off as easy if there's not much of a swell, and you can definitely see the swell's gone down a bit and the water looks a lot flatter than it was before. But unfortunately that doesn't make the best progress, so I think that I'll pay off another couple of degrees and let the boat pick a little bit more speed back up, and obviously stop us slipping down a slippy road which is called Mr. Leeway Avenue. Well, if you hadn't noticed, and you should have if you're paying attention, there's land ahoy. So that means that we're not too far off course and we're doing well against the wind. In fact, we're doing extremely well against the wind in the direction that it's been getting delivered to us and the angle that we needed to get across. So Swallow's been pulling off a bit of a blinder this afternoon, keeping herself, I'd say, fairly much close hauled all afternoon. And anywhere we hit land over there's an anchorage, so we're not bothered which anchorage we hit. We're passing a little island now there, it's called Caldy Island. Well, if I could have got a little bit more north up, we would have had it, but that's my cruising there, 40 degrees off, keeping the speed up to where we needed to be to get somewhere in a sensible time, and there we are. And the one thing you can agree with is the wind won't stay the same strength for any length of time on this crossing. Soon as you think it's dropping down, you've got all your canvas up, it picks back up a little bit again, and you're getting your gunnels buried. Well, not quite gunnels buried. We've got at least a foot of freeboard there above for the gunnels, but they're certainly being pressed down a lot more than they were this morning. And the water still looks lovely and flat, and I think that's because we're getting closer towards land. Well, we decided to go for Goven's Head and go round the bottom, but unfortunately for us, we were told to change our course, and we had to change our course right back into the wind, so we had to stick the sails down and motoring into the wind is no fun, because we were doing this morning. And it's only 45 degrees off what we were doing, so we've been having a right good tack today. A right good tack, and I think we've been fairly closer than 50 degrees in and run across at a decent pace without making much leeway. But now, unfortunately, we've got to motor in towards a boat called Smith Merrion, who's asked us politely not to carry on with our course and to anchor off for a bit and then wait for time to go round. Well, I was actually thinking it was a good time to go round, because we'd done well with the tide. We could have carried it round. So we'll have to hang on and see what we've got left when we get there. Well, we've just been given permission to go round, and we've started off. We've got the engine on, we've got the sails up, and we need to make as much speed as we possibly can, because we need to get round in 2 hours. So it's only a short window to get round while the firing range is off. And as soon as we get down to Goven's Head, the whole world seems to turn against us. We just make no way tracks to get round that corner. It just seems to have stopped us. The tide seems to have turned at least an hour early, and I would presume the tide hasn't turned. I presume this has got a back eddy on it and we're not getting anywhere. So I turn round, and with the back eddy we're doing 7.5 knots, screaming the other way back to the anchorage that we should have went to just behind this lump of land in the first place, called Barafundle Bay. And here we are in the anchorage after trying such a daft manoeuvre. This anchorage is called Barafundle. It was one we'd picked along to come to anyway, and it's like a mill pond here. The wind is still a little bit up, it's probably about 15 knots, but the land has got it trapped down to almost a mill pond on the water. We can't stay here all day tomorrow, although at least I'd like to, because I know what she likes to do is get in the dinghy and go and explore the caves. She'd also like to spend a bit of time on the beach, but unfortunately tomorrow is a lovely day, but the day after a storm's coming in and we need to be somewhere tucked away for a storm coming in, and I don't mean tucked away in an open anchorage such as this. Doesn't matter how beautiful it is, it's not going to be protected when there's 40 odd knots of wind coming across it. And I don't know what the bottom surface is. I do now though. The bottom surface, I can tell you, is like a mixed sand and mud, but it's very light sand and very light mud. So I'd have said good up to about a 4.6 for holding, and I wouldn't have paid any money on anything after that. And there's some black clouds coming in there, and it's actually supposed to be a nice day tomorrow. Well, we're not alone anymore either. We've got a couple of boats come to visit us in here. Well, they haven't come to visit us, they've come to visit Barafundle. But it's company for the night, I suppose. That's called Laris, and his mate, just here somewhere, just here, is called Dilly. So the Laris should really be called Dally. My long and lat's up there if you want to anchor, soft sand and mud where I am just there. And the reason we're leaving tomorrow is this is coming in the next day, and that just doesn't look like any fun. So till next time, bon voyage!